thank you so much for coming today. My name is Amy DuGray, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you and an amazing panel of superheroes and Dr. Gary Stager. This is our effort to bring what it is we're doing here at the school out to the larger community. We're hoping that you'll be inspired, that you'll take some ideas away, whether you're a parent or an educator. We think that doing for ourselves, the idea of making things, really, really helps us grow as human beings, as individuals. And these three stellar young people are some of the most amazing makers out there. So I will let Dr. Gary Stager, introduce them, and he will be your host. I will be out there with your kids. We would like to welcome you to join us at 11. From 11 to 11:30, we'll still be out there mingling. You can mingle with the superheroes themselves, as well as the activities that are in the room. But we're going to ask that everyone leaves promptly at 11:30 because even superheroes have to eat. So we want to make sure that they have time in between this and their next session. So we'll, try not to be unpleasant or offend anyone, but we're going to shoo everybody out at 11:30. Here is Dr. Stager, and again, thank you for coming.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks to the Willows and to the faculty for pitching in on a Sunday. Thanks for all of you for coming. I wear a lot of hats. I work with schools all around the world for the last 33 years trying to create contexts in which kids learn through active exploration of their curiosity, through the expression of making things. I've been teaching programming and robotics and such for a very long time. And a couple of years ago now, co-authored a book called Invent to Learn, Making Tinkering and Engineering in the Classroom, that made an attempt to capture the passion and spirit and energy and tools and technology of the emerging maker movement outside of schools and build a bridge to bring those experiences into classrooms. And I've been really privileged this year to serve as the special assistant to the head of School for Innovation here at the Willows, mentoring teachers, working with kids on special projects, organizing crazy events like this, which we did in the last month or two. So it's great to see you all here. That highlight the idea of learning by making, the power of learning by making, the recognition that knowledge is a consequence of experience. And one of the things that's so exciting about the maker movement is that there are kids who are at the center of it, who are heralded and cherished and embraced and respected as heroes, not just because of the fact that they're charming or cute or novelty acts, but because they have demonstrable expertise and because of their willingness to share their expertise and talents and insight with the rest of us. And they too like being in the company of adults, because adults have experience and wisdom and driver's licenses and various other traits that are useful to teenage kids. I've had this idea since I first met some of my colleagues up on the stage to assemble them together for an event where they could share their knowledge and expertise with others, and also interact with one another and with yourselves. And so we had this idea of superheroes of the maker movement. I indeed consider each of the kids on the stage to be colleagues. I've worked with Super Awesome Sylvia, Sylvia Todd, on a number of occasions, most recently in helping to publish her first book, Super Awesome Sylvia, super simple project book for Arduino, which we have copies of here for sale and she'd be happy to sign it. To her left, Schuyler St. who became famous for a YouTube video that went viral of a speech he gave called Why I Love My 3D Printer, and he's since moved on to conquer all sorts of maker and electronics projects and knowledge. And to his left, Quin Etnyre, who's the CEO of QTechKnow, and he develops and manufactures and sells microcontrollers and electronics kits for learners of all ages. So what I'd like to do is have each of the kids begin by introducing themselves, talking about why they're makers, how they got to be makers, what they're interested in making, the experiences that they've had around the world, from the White House to the UN to maker fairs, just about everywhere. And then we'll engage them in some conversation. We'll take your questions as well. Followed by, as Amy said, an opportunity to go see the activities that we've set up for the little kids to explore making and to do something creative on a Sunday morning. And then we're going to set up and they're going to have lunch, and then each of them is going to lead a workshop for kids in the community for 2 or 3 hours this afternoon. So let me hand things over to, we're starting with Schuyler, right? Is it you were first?
I think so. Does this, okay. Good morning. Good morning. It sounds like half of you are wishing you were still asleep, but I am too, so that's okay. So as you heard, I'm Schuyler. I'm currently 15 years old and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I really like making things and taking things apart since a young age. My parents don't always like it when I take things apart because sometimes they want them to go back together. They also don't like it when I took apart that printer that the neighbor gave me and learned that ink in carpet equals a pretty permanent stain. I've taken apart things I really enjoy because it helps me get a better understanding of how things work and how people design things to solve a problem. And then my mom, someone gave her a copy of Make magazine and I read that and it really opened my eyes to the world of making. And since then I've been making all sorts of things. I've been playing with Arduino, which is really cool and fun because it makes it really easy to start building a simple project and make it more advanced. I've also done work with 3D printing. You mentioned a talk I did. I did that like a year or two before 3D printing was really the big thing. And because I think 3D printing is a really cool technology, which a lot of other people seem to agree because it's really popular now. I've also recently been doing a lot with making RF and wireless stuff. So I'm going to be doing a workshop later on about radio frequency stuff and that type of thing. Another thing I like to do is robotics. I'm on a FIRST robotics team. I saw that Willow here, they have a trophy for FIRST like Elite Team. I think FIRST robotics is a great way to get kids inspired and excited about engineering and technology because it's hands-on and it's exciting and fun. And I really hope you have a good day today. Thank you.
Next up is Quin. Never mind. Go ahead, switch. I had a URL up. List of resources, books, kits, parts that might be interesting to you as parents and educators, things to engage kids in learning by making. If you go to inventtoloearn.com/thewillows, inventtoloearn.com/thewillows, there's a large collection of resources and book recommendations for makers of all ages. So inventtoloearn.com/thewillows.
So hi, my name is Quin Etnyre. I'm 14 years old and I'm from California. And I'm a maker. About 3 years ago, I went to my first maker fair in San Mateo, and it was a really eye-opening experience. It was incredible. I saw lots of 3D printers, Arduino-powered gadgets, and lots of cool projects. And so I got really inspired there and decided to get an Arduino. And from then on, since everything's open source and free and easy to learn, I started making lots of projects. I got that book right there, Getting Started with Arduino by the co-founder. And it was a really good book. It taught me how to code. It taught me how to wire up my first circuit. And from then on, I've been going to lots of maker fairs around the world, including the White House and New York. And I've been posting some of my tutorials on the projects that I've made on Instructables right there, the little yellow robot right there. And lots of people seem to like them, so I keep on making more and more, and they can easily replicate my projects, they can change it, and everything's open source, so they can make my project how they really want it to be. I also started teaching Arduino classes 2 years ago. The upper left-hand picture is one of them, and I usually teach them at D's Maker 3D printer store, and they make the BucoBot 3D printers. So that's a little bit about me, and also I started my own business, QTechKnow, up on the top, and I sell makers like kits and bits and kits to for all ages, for anyone who wants to get started with electronics. So, thank you.
Want to tell us about some of your kids?
Oh yeah, so they're plug-and-play kits for Arduino. So first you get to learn how to solder, then you get to learn how to code, and you just get to learn all about Arduino. And it's a really good first step to dive into electronics.
What do some of them do?
Well, I have one that's a fart sensor, methane sensor that you can sense gas and stuff. And I have lots of LED bar graphs so you can tell how much methane was in it. And stuff like flux sensors, knobs, basic stuff like that that I've been doing with Sparkfun Electronics, and I sell a big kit of 8 with them.
What was the thing you were playing with in class maker fair? With the chips and the vehicles and...
Oh, that was the Fuzzbot. A Fuzzbot is, I have a tutorial on Instructables right now, and it's this robot that has a Swiffer duster and an ultrasonic distance sensor on the front. So it'll go around your house avoiding obstacles while it dusts your room. So it's really nice. I don't really have to clean my room as much now. And then just recently at the last Maker Fair in New York and Rome, I hacked it to have NFC on the bottom, so you can play a little game with NFC chips around an obstacle course.
What else is NFC used for novices?
Oh yeah, just around here, just to open doors. It's to get into like locked buildings at like hospitals and stuff like that. It's super secure, but it didn't really need to be secure for mine.
Thanks, Quin. Were you close to getting some of these machine guns?
Yeah, we have, there's interesting issues with the VGA thing and stuff.
It was working before, then we had to do more stuff.
We need this one. We need this one. It was working.
Multimedia is the Latin for what it is. Wait, something just happened. There we
It
go.
works, it works.
So Sylvia is the producer and star of a web series of videos called Super Awesome Sylvia's Super Awesome Maker Show, which I think you'll talk about when you started making them. And as I said, we've worked together a number of times in different professional development contexts and speaking, as well as helping her bring her first book to market. So now that the computer's working, I'll turn things over to Sylvia Todd.
Hey guys, my name is Super Awesome Sylvia. About 5 years ago, when I was 8 years old, my dad and I decided to make a how-to show on making fun and simple projects. It was called Sylvia's Super Awesome Maker Show. After showing it off at Maker Fair Bay Area, it got really popular, and people wanted me to have come to speak at. wanted to have me come and speak about my experiences. I granted. Maker Fair is an event for makers and creators of things to come show off what they have made and inspire others to do the same. People come from all over the world to see creators, projects, and the event itself. Maker Fair is spread all across the world, inviting people to create and play. Maker Fair was a huge thing for me. It really inspired me to start making. I went to the first one in San Mateo. It was amazing. It's a great place to go. Maker Fairs are great. They're just amazing. Since then, I've been to Rome, Switzerland, London, and a bunch of places in the US, including the White House, talking about making, getting girls into STEAM, and getting girls into STEAM. That is awesome because I want to inspire people to be more hands-on and try and make things. I want to try and get people to have more of a maker spirit. Sorry. So this is Maker Fair, and there's a lot of crazy stuff there, people's projects. What's really cool is that you get to talk to the people, talk to the inventors. If you have an idea and you need help or you need like more skills, like what skills do I need to learn to weld, and like all this other crazy stuff, you get to talk to the people. And that's team, so science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Those are all great things, and then a lot of girls don't really get into that sort of stuff, so what I really want to try and do is inspire more girls to get into STEAM. So I'm going to give you an example of what my show is like. This is it.
Oh yeah, the super awesome mini maker show. Yeah. Welcome to Super Awesome Mini Maker Show. On this episode, we'll teach you how to clone your own toys. Crazy Putty, Squishy Circuits, Super Simple Copper Engine, Alarmingly Awesome Monochrome Clock Kit, Soft Circuitry, Awesome Mini POV Kit from Aphid. What do I do with my Arduino? Super Simple Screen Printing, make your own Ruby Love Land. No heat required. Allowing the ink to seep through the holes only where it's needed, reproducing your design wherever you want, again and again. With other elements, like old curmudgeon oxygen, they don't like to share their electrons much, making them great electric insulators, keeping any charge from moving freely to other atoms. Get off my lawn. Thanks. I get copper atoms and their free electrons. Two or more colors using multiple lined-up screens. Or even pop-up secret lantern faces. Hi-ya! Let's go! To get the whole picture, all we have to do is move the slice to the next position in space at the right time, and our brains do the rest of the work by piecing the whole picture together from the after images. And that's persistence of vision. I love brains. 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 Love to stick to other little molecules. Okay, let's go. 5 volts, move in, drop to 0, spring back, again and again. When you do this really quickly, you get sound. By using the tone function on the Arduino, it gives the speaker a square wave at the speed we give it in hertz. That's all for this episode. Have fun. Never stop learning. Keep trying if something fails. Experiment with your designs. Respect your software design. Don't be afraid to try new things. Experiment with different types of programs or games. Maybe try and write your own. Be sure to experiment with different types of colors. Try different shoes. Show your friends. Experiment with different kinds of metal. Be safe. Bring your projects to the next level. Get out there and make something.
So that was my maker show, and hopefully I'll try and do more videos. I haven't done a video in quite a long time, but I'm working on it. And so you can watch the episodes at sylviashow.com, or you can look them up on YouTube. And the projects are really fun and simple, and I really suggest you just get out there and make something. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Sylvia. Schuyler. And one of the things that comes out in their work, and that I think is emblematic and very special about the maker community, is a willingness to share what one knows and knows how to do with others. From Sylvia making videos to Quin making kits available, and Schuyler and Quin posting things online. I think the question that I would like to ask is, how did you guys learn how to do some of this? You know, Quin mentioned he read that book by Massimo Bonzi. So did I, but I can't do 1/100th of the things that Quin could do. So do you have any insights in how you became experts at what it is that you're experts in order to be able to share your knowledge with others? Any?
I guess a lot of the inspiration, it's like what I'm experts in and stuff. I guess I'm pretty good at a lot of things. I read a lot of the Make Scene magazines. Those were great. I read them a lot when I was little. I guess I just go online and look up things I really want to learn about. There's tons and tons of people out there with tons of info that you can look up, and it's really cool.
One thing that I also read Make Scene a lot. It's a really great magazine about making. stuff and what people have made. Maker Faire is also really cool because people there teach you, and then the Getting Started with Arduino book, I also read that. It's a really good book that walks you through programming and stuff. And then a lot of the things are, you can just go online on websites like Instructables and other websites you can find. If you just search for Arduino tutorial, you can find all sorts of documentation and guides on Arduino for free, and it explains it very well how it works.
Yeah, another thing that Arduino is a big proponent of open source, and nowadays everything's starting to become free, accessible to everyone, easy to use, and so nowadays, as Schuyler said, you can just Google it, find something on the Arduino documentation, and if you have the right motivation, you can get started in a few hours. It's really easy nowadays, and it's really cool since there's open source now.
So what do you think are some of the elements that make you good at it?
I guess you could say lots of practice and doing projects over and over again can give you like a lot of skills and info, and just keeping your mind open to new ideas. And if things get frustrating or you can't learn a certain thing, just take a break and come back to it when you feel better. And you don't have to just put a whole bunch of hours and hours of work into something, And it's I guess you could say I got good at things just by having the drive to do them, and wanting to learn more, having that curious mind.
I think it also has to do with that when you build a project, you're going to learn a lot by doing a project, as well as I like learning about things, and I find this to be really cool, which makes learning about it fun, and you can read stuff, try it, it's cool, and now I learned something.
Yeah, definitely. I think that practice makes perfect. Lots and lots of projects, making as much as you can is a really good thing to do, because in every project you have the code, you have the hardware, you have the mechanics, and every single time you learn a ton, and you can go online and maybe add something else to your project that you didn't even know was possible for just Googling it online.
So what are you interested in learning next? What's piquing your curiosity? What are you hoping to find time to master?
I'm trying to find time to learn how to code Android right now, so that I can pair some of my Arduino projects with something on my phone and use some of the sensors and the display and everything in my phone that I wouldn't have to add to my Arduino.
I'm doing stuff with radio currently. Some of the signal processing isn't that easy, but if you go online, you can find the guides and documentation. And what's nice is there are communities out there. It's another great thing with open source and making. There are communities out there that are really welcoming and will help you if you have questions. So it makes it, if you have something and you don't really understand it, you can go ask them and they will help you too.
So one of the things that I've been really trying to make time for is coding. I haven't done a lot. I've been doing a lot of hardware instead of software. I want to try and learn to code in JavaScript, and just coding in general. I want to try and make more time for that. I also want to try, on the hardware side, welding. That really piques my interest, and I think that's so cool. One of the projects that I'm working on with my dad is a go-kart, electric go-kart, and I was working on welding on that project, but I just want to try and get better at it, and it's one of the really cool things.
So Sylvia's written a book about Arduino, and Schuyler and Quin have both spoken about Arduino, but I'm sure there are members of the audience who have no idea what you're talking about. So why don't you educate them a little bit about why Arduino is important, why it's special, why you're interested in it.
So the Arduino is a microcontroller. It's sort of like a robot brain, and you can program it to do a lot of things. It's amazing. It's really cool. I did my project book on it. It's based off one of my episodes.
So Arduino's cool. It's pretty simple. It's a microcontroller, which is essentially like a processor, like what's in your cell phone, except it can't really do anything as hard as your cell phone does. It's something you might find controlling your dishwasher or microwave, the microcontroller like that. What's cool is it's really simple, so what you'll see some people do is they build something with an Arduino, and then they want to make it into a project. They'll actually, because it's all open source and all the design files are out there, it's free for you to use. You can take those and you can make your own custom modified Arduino board that might add some sensors to it or give you different inputs and outputs. The other cool thing is the Arduino comes with a programming environment, and all the compilers and the hard stuff is all set up for you, so you can write the code and load the code and have something working within, as Quinn said, a few hours.
And one of the great things about the Arduino is it's $25 or less sometimes. It's credit card size, like mini computer, and the coding's not really extremely hard. It's not ones and zeros. It's English language, a lot of, based on my experience teaching kids, I mean, in a few weeks, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds can get programming, in just a few weeks. And so I find it really easy and accessible and perfect for anyone. It's not built for the engineer, it's built more for students, hackers, artists, designers, and stuff like that.
And if you want to go easy at first and you don't want to just jump into coding, you can find just things online and you can just copy and paste them in. And there's if you want to learn Arduino, you can just Google it. Literally, there's tons of things online that you can learn about.
Also, one other thing on that is Arduino. It actually comes with examples, and the book that you pointed out, it goes through all the examples and it covers the programming really well. And what's cool is programming is actually pretty easy. You can say if this button is pressed, then turn on the light, or if it's not, turn it off.
So Schuyler, you were talking about your interest in radio. Can you spend a moment and tell us about some of the experiments you're doing and things that you're building and making?
Yeah, so one of the cool things that's available now for the price has come down a lot is this thing called software-defined radio, which is instead of having a dedicated radio receiver that maybe only does Bluetooth or a separate one for pager signals and having to have a bunch of different radios for depending on what you want to receive, you can have one radio module that will just receive the signal and you do all the decoding and processing on your computer. So this isn't great for a final product because it means that you have to have a pretty powerful processor and it kind of uses a lot of power. It's really cool and good for exploring radio stuff. So one of the things I've done, my parents aren't exactly happy with this, but I quite enjoy this. I took the remote for our ceiling fan, which just sends the same code every time because our ceiling fan isn't that, if someone turns on your light, it's really not the end of the world. And I recorded that code and I figured out how it worked, and then I played it back. So I can blink the light on and off really quickly without having to press a button. I just run a program that will transmit it. Some other cool things that you can do with radio is you can look at other things that are being sent. So like this wireless microphone. This uses the same type of encoding, FM, which is frequency modulation. So it actually changes the frequency of the signal based on my voice signal. And you can actually, these typically aren't encrypted or secured at all, so you could just, if you have a receiver, you can just set up an antenna and receive what's being said. So it actually has interesting security things as well, because if there's somewhere where they're using wireless microphones and maybe they're discussing secret stuff, someone could maybe pull up in a van outside, and if they have powerful antennas, could potentially receive it. So there are a lot of interesting things where, with making, you might get started doing something for fun, but it can lead to jobs and other research for you because you're learning so much. Yeah. And it's really fun.
So Quinn, you told me a little while ago that you're about to embark on a top secret project. You want to let us in on it a little bit?
Yeah, so about an hour ago I just submitted my Kickstarter campaign for approval. And so my Kickstarter is based on, it's an Arduino compatible board, and it's tiny, and it's meant for once you've prototyped your project with an Arduino, then you can go to My Board and put it in your project. So it's tiny, it has a battery charger and a monitor, so it can tell you when it's running out of juice, and you can charge it while it's in your project.
So why does someone need one of those?
Someone would need it because in a traditional Arduino, you can just run out of power in your project, and the only way you'll know is if you check it. This way, if you hook it up to, say, a light or even like a Wi-Fi module, you can get a reminder on your phone. And you can charge it while it's in your project. You won't have to dig out the battery.
Cool. So the last question I want to ask before I turn this over to the audience is, can you talk about the relationship between what you do in your increasingly scarce free time versus school, and if there's any overlap between your maker interests and passions and talents between what happens informally outside of school and what happens inside of school?
So in my free time, I like playing video games and drawing and reading and just doing normal stuff. And at school, I try to get good grades in school, I guess, and I try as hard as I can to get good grades. When I'm doing all my maker stuff, it's usually on the weekends. That's when I have the most time, and I either like pull out my laptop and say, oh, I want to code something today or something. Or it's I go into the garage and be like, I have to finish that weld on the go-kart. Or it's like, I have like tons of ideas. I fill up my notebooks with thousands of ideas and things that I like to do. And I just try to have fun.
How much making happens in school?
Not a lot. Not where I go. I try and incorporate more stuff. Like in my science class, I was suggesting to my teacher that maybe we should do an Arduino project or like try and do some sort of project, and lots of failed attempts to try and have that happen. But this year we've had a lot of projects. It was very project-based, and I thought it was really cool.
How about you, Schuyler? Tell us about your school experience.
So at school, I do my work there first, but if I have time, I bring my computer to school and I will work on my projects and stuff. I can work on the software and researching stuff at school. I also do a lot of making at night when my parents want me or think I'm in bed because it's sleep. No one really needs it, right? There's this thing called coffee. Then I'm very tired in the morning and wish I didn't stay up that late. But I do a lot of making then. I also do stuff on the weekends. My parents kind of want me to get out of the house more and do other stuff, but making's fun and it's enjoyable. My school, I've talked to the teacher about some of the projects they do. The problem is there's what the teachers need to teach, and there's not always time for them to go into other making projects. So we don't really do much of that, but we do talk about it some. And yeah.
Quin.
So last year I did not have any making at my school, and I did everything at home. I tried to do it after I had done my homework on the weekends and whenever I had free time. But last year I went to the school board and I told them about how I was traveling around the world, giving talks, teaching classes, and doing lots of Arduino projects, and I thought a lot of other kids would like it too. And I told them that I learned it all outside of school. And the superintendent said, well, let's change that. So this year at our high school, we have the new Maker elective. And here we make Arduino projects, we make woodworking projects. We do AutoCAD, 3D modeling, anything that fits into the Maker category, and it's a lot of fun. So I get about an hour a day during school now to make.
Well, that's great. I often say that making is a stance. It's a way of viewing the world with the confidence and competence to overcome any challenge that you confront. That, as I think my colleagues on stage have demonstrated, they're well prepared to solve problems that their teachers never anticipated. And the maker movement in general, I think, is a response to the rampant consumerism and helplessness that's pervaded the culture for the last generation or so. That you can solve your own problems, you can build solutions, you can be whimsical and create things and inventive. And you can also fight City Hall. You can go to the school board and say, what you're doing isn't good enough, and I have another way, and actually change things. So we have some time left. Let me throw the floor open to you to ask the three makers on stage any questions that you might have.
Could you tell us about any career dreams or aspirations any of you might have?
So ever since I was little, I had a lot of career paths that I really wanted to take. So I've always wanted to go to space because I think space is awesome. I always want to be some sort of aeronautical engineer or something that have to do with space. I've also wanted to just be an engineer and build things. I think I want to do art too. There's I would be an astronaut, artist, chef, maker person. There's a ton of things that I'd like to do, and I hope I can do something like that.
Yeah, I have a similar thing. I like doing all sorts of things. I think science is cool, engineering is cool, electrical and mechanical. Problem is, I really like electronics, but I also really like other things. Like Sylvia, I also kind of really want to go to space, because space is kind of awesome. My family, my dad will find out when the International Space Station, when you can see it at night, and we'll go outside and we'll look, and it's kind of fun to see this dot moving along the sky, and you can think that there are people in there doing science and research. I'm probably going to do some sort of electrical engineering, but I really like making and stuff, so we'll see where it takes me.
Yeah, so making is a really broad category. Anything in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Anything in there really interests me, and I met this guy one time. His name was Jay, and he was a professional maker, and that's the job that I really want. He just makes stuff every day and gets paid. That's my dream job.
So before we go back to the audience, can you share the coolest people you've gotten to meet as a maker, and maybe some of the most interesting places you've gotten to visit as a result? We'll start with Quin.
One of the most interesting places that I've been to is Maker Faire Rome. It was really cool because there's a pre-conference where lots of different people get to talk and you get to hear about their experiences. And then there's a 3-day fair where last year I exhibited some of my projects with Atmel, and it was lots of fun. One of the key people that I've met that I thought was really cool was Massimo, the person who wrote the intro to the Arduino book. It was really cool getting to meet him. He was the maker for the Arduino, which I really love. So.
I'm not sure if I can really find one person who I like meeting a lot. I've met a lot of cool people. When I go to Maker Faire, it's really cool to meet people who I maybe haven't heard of them before, but talking to them, it's really exciting to hear the cool things they've made. I've been to I've been to Maker Faire Rome. I also have gone to Maker Faire Paris, and it was actually fun because when we were in Paris, we also saw CERN in France. But Maker Fairs are really fun to go to. There I've met Bree Pettis. He's the co-founder of MakerBot, which makes 3D printers, and I think that was really cool. Yeah.
Where was your verbal wrestling match? Was that in Vegas?
Oh yes, I've been to Vegas for a few talks, and actually I was at a talk for Autodesk. And they had this thing called the cage match, which was where you had, it was like boxing, but you had ideas, and it was really fun and theatrical, and I was debating if 3D printing was a practical technology, and I said yes, and I was against someone who said no. That was fun, because you get to hear new ideas in a fun, creative way.
You had a special costume.
Yes, I also had a light-up, blinking lab coat with an accelerometer, so as I moved, it blinked differently. It was fun, the lab coat.
Sylvia.
So there's, there's been a lot of people that I've met and in a lot of cool places. Honestly, I think the Maker Faire San Mateo has been a huge thing for me. It's very nostalgic. I love there. Even though there's like tons of people and it's gotten huge, it's still amazing, and there's lots of amazing people there. It could even just be like one person who has just started out making projects, and I think they're amazing because they just started out and they actually like kept going in their project. They didn't just stop halfway through saying like, oh, this is too hard. They actually did it, and I thought even the little things and the little people, I think it's really cool.
And your Mythbuster pals.
Oh yes, I've met Adam Savage. I think he's incredible. He's amazing. I think ever since the first or second Maker Faire that I went to, one in 2006 or 2007, I started doing these pictures with my idols, and so I could keep doing it. So it was recursive. So there's a picture inside of a picture inside of a picture, and I did this with Adam Savage. Last year, I did it with him, and he recognized me. He's like, oh, you're the girl who keeps doing the recursive pictures. So that went viral, and it was incredible, and I was like, wow, this guy's really awesome. So he's one of my favorite idols.
And their little pal, the President of the United States. It's worth mentioning Maker Faire that they keep referring to. This isn't some summer camp arts and crafts. The San Mateo Maker Faire attracts about 130,000 people. Rome had over 100,000. There's a large community of people who are valuing the idea of learning by making, about personal expression, about using new technologies and timeless craft traditions to amplify human potential. Let's take some more questions.
As you build a community of fans, how do you engage with those fans, and is it a primarily one-way or a two-way conversation? Is there a platform that you use for that exchange of knowledge?
People can email me. I do some work with open source software because I feel that using open source software, you also have to contribute it. I've worked on the software for Sylvia's watercolor bot. What's cool is because it's all open source, I can modify the hardware, and it makes it really easy to modify the software with hardware. So I'm trying to put a laser on it because lasers are fun. I really don't need justification, it's a laser. I'm on Twitter too. People haven't really, I don't think I have a huge fan base. Maybe I'm wrong.
Tell us what the watercolor bot is as well.
So I contact my fans through email, Twitter, mostly email. You can go to sylviashow.com to there's a contact page there, and you can talk to me through there. Even though I get lots of emails, I try as hard as I can to respond to almost every single one. Even if it's just asking like, I need help. How do I solder? How does this work? So I try and help almost everyone, and through email and stuff. I guess my fan base is like pretty big. I have a lot of views on my videos, and I'm kind of glad for that because I want to inspire as many people as I can, and especially younger kids so they can start doing damage and stuff. So.
Tell us about the watercolor bot.
Yeah, so you mentioned that. I was just thinking about that. So the watercolor bot is a watercolor painting robot that uses, it sort of works like an Etch-a-Sketch. It uses X and Y axis to paint a picture. And so it uses rods and strings, and I would pull up a picture, but yeah. I have one. Yeah, he has one here, so I guess you can see.
And what does it paint?
Yeah, so the watercolor bot, so I was making it for Robo Games, which is an international robotics competition that takes place in San Mateo, and I've been there before. I was like, I think I'm going to enter in something. So since I wasn't really, I hadn't made any big projects yet, I decided to just enter into the art robotics category. And so I drew up something, and I had a sketch, and I was like, okay, I really want to make this. So I got help from the Evil Mad Scientist Laboratories. They're a small... I'm sure it's something
Normally I would blame Schuyler for this.
Right. Okay, I was sitting here the entire time, and it definitely wasn't my remotely controlled robot that set off the fire alarm.
Sorry about that. The nice person who ran out to resolve this is the head of school, so hopefully it will come to an end shortly.
I hope this was just a little kid that told the fire alarm there isn't actually a real fire.
It's a false alarm.
Okay, good.
Is it a false alarm that's going to be shut off?
Technology's not perfect.
We could just take a sledgehammer. Oh yeah, you can turn it off.
Yay! You're all powerful.
I'm gonna suggest we use a sledgehammer. It doesn't disable either.
Okay, who else has a question? Let's go this way. Got a couple more in quickly.
I'll shut up.
Hi, seems like you guys are really familiar with Arduino. Have you guys heard about the Arduino? It's like tiny version, and it's like just the size of a quarter, and it's stackable, so you don't necessarily need to soldering the wires, use the breadboard. You just stack those together. You can play anything you want.
Cool, I've never seen that before, but I'll definitely check it out. Was it a Kickstarter campaign? Or?
It was like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Okay.
I have a question about school. Two questions. One, since you guys are so creative and so interested in making things and so forth, how well do you tolerate sitting in desks and being in school and preparing for tests and so forth? And then the second part of the question is, do any of you have any aspirations of being a teacher?
Sitting through school sometimes is really difficult for me. I'm just like, oh, okay, can we please do something a little bit more hands-on? And just having tests, like the school being framed by tests and just having that all the time is really difficult sometimes. I had a lot of trouble last year getting all my work done and getting it all turned in because I'd be like traveling off to London and then I'd be like, I have homework. So it was really difficult and kind of like grabbing down sometimes. So it's really kind of horrible sometimes. But I tried, and I like teaching kids. I'm not sure if I like teaching these projects and stuff. I've never really thought of becoming a teacher, but if like being someone at a makerspace or something, like who goes there and like helps people and like works on projects and teaches classes every once in a while, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, so I find that I don't exactly like tests. I find sometimes it's just, I understand they're important to make sure you understand what's been taught. I don't always like them. At school, sometimes I try to balance it. Like school this year has been a lot more fun. Last year, school some classes were kind of boring. Just kind of sit through it and get over it. Sometimes your mind starts to wander and you can and you still can get through class. The internet's useful for Googling things you don't know or the teacher maybe didn't explain well, but I think a lot of it is if you have a teacher who's excited and engaging, it'll help, even if they aren't teaching about making and stuff, they can help keep you interested without, even if they can't do making for everyone or aren't able to.
Yeah, I think that like teachers that are really motivated and excited to teach are the ones that that me and my classmates are excited to learn. I'm not really a big fan of tests and studying for tests and like homework and that stuff, but I kind of do want to be a teacher. I teach some Arduino classes right now, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. We're going to have time for one more question, and then we can wrap up. I want to introduce someone important, but you could also tell folks what you're going to teach this afternoon. I'm sorry, could you?
So then you can finish your answer.
Did you finish your answer?
Yeah. No, and then I'll run off, you're finished.
Oh, I'm sorry, finish.
Yeah, sorry, I remember. So, where was I? The Robo Games? Yeah. So I was making it for Robo Games, and I went to one of their electronic manufacturers, and we were friends and we knew each other pretty well. So I decided while I had a week off school to go over there and make a prototype. And we worked on it for a couple of months, and I won second place at Robo Games. So that was really cool. Afterwards, we decided that we wanted to make it into a kit, and they were kit manufacturers. So they did a lot of the work, and we collaborated for a long time. We launched a Kickstarter, and we got to our goal. We got over $90,000. It was really amazing, and they're a kit right now. You can buy them, and they're open source, and you can contribute to the code on GitHub. And
how do you get a picture into it? How do you get a picture into the robot?
Oh, so it uses X and Y axis. It works like an Etch-a-Sketch sort of. You get a vector graphic, and you use the program that me and my dad and a couple of people
a vector graphic is like, it's just a simple image sort of, and you put it in there and it paints it, and you can look on online, watercolorbot.com.
Yeah, there is Evil Mad Science Labs. They are some awesome people. You should check them out. They do some really cool stuff. I'm working on some software to where you don't need to have a vector graphic, because currently, like, if you just take a photo of the room, you can't easily draw that. I'm working on making software so you can draw that.
Cool, sir.
Were all of you just born to make stuff regardless of what resources were available, or did any of you literally get inspired by this movement that triggered something in you that you weren't even aware of?
I guess it's kind of a combination of like having sort of a curious mindset from when I was little, and sort of being inspired by like idols and Maker Faire, and having the resources around me to go to, having help and having like just supplies and like things at my reach, and having some sort of like authority, like leader figure to help me along, because sometimes projects like that can really get you down and you just don't want to do it anymore. You want to do something easier and just something more into your comfort zone, but getting out of your comfort zone is really important. You learn so much more, and you can get a lot of really cool skills that way. So yeah, it's a combination of the two.
I think one of the things is that, so I've always been interested in taking things apart, but I think when I found out about the maker movement and make magazines and making, so that really opened my eyes to what was out there, and that really inspired me to start making and building things, whereas because I now knew there's this whole new world, and yeah.
So I used to take a lot of stuff apart, not necessarily putting it back together again, but I used to take apart a lot of stuff. But once I figured out that there's this huge maker movement, there's something to put together again. There's lots of kits that you can make, and really opened my eyes, as Schuyler said, to this whole world. It's just really amazing.
So quickly, hold on to the mic and tell everyone what your workshop is about this afternoon, and then I want to introduce someone.
Oh, so it's Intro to Arduino workshop. I'll be teaching a little workshop that includes about 5 circuits, and kids will be able to make LEDs blink, have lots of buttons, potentiometers, some stuff like that, and learn a lot of hardware.
Schuyler.
Mine is going to be about radio. We're going to be making an FM transmitter thing, and I'm going to be talking about how that works and the way radios works and radio waves work.
Sylvia.
I'm going to be teaching soft circuitry. We make circuits and we make little stuffed animals with glowing eyes, and just learn about cool little circuits and how you can like make an LED light up.
Great. I want to thank all of you for your questions and interest. We're going to have some time to interact with the panelists as well as the kids who are making stuff out in the gym. But before we do, I want to turn the microphone over to our host. Lisa Rosenstein is the head of the Willows Community School, and she just wants to say a few words.
Well, first I want to thank you kids for coming. I know you've been an inspiration for all of us. Quinn, hurry up and finish, because I'd like to interview you and possibly offer you a job, because I think we could learn from you. And you are teaching us all the time, so we're really grateful for the 3 of you to come. And that couldn't happen without Dr. Gary Stager and Amy DeGray as part of our team to organize this and to really inspire all of us. So we're very grateful. I think you met Amy earlier today, our Director of Technology, who has done a phenomenal job in helping us learn how to embrace the maker movement. And I don't think our teachers will be as boring or as some of yours, but I think one of the things that I will take back to them in terms of education is how important passion and engagement is. And whether it's in maker or any subject, what I hear you all say is teachers need to be passionate and engaging to help you all grow. So as you all see your children and what their path is in education, hopefully their teachers can be an inspiration to them so that their minds can continue to be curious. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Gary, thank you. You are an inspiration for me. I'm always learning as well. So, and it's a great way to enjoy a Sunday, and it's good to be in the gym because we're not worried about missing the sunshine. So thank you all. Did you have anything else, Gary?
The kids, we have trading cards that the kids will be happy to sign, as well as Super Awesome Sylvia's book. For those of you who are educators who might be interested in a summer institute called Constructing Modern Knowledge, we have some brochures up front. But spend a little bit of time interacting with the children and seeing what they're making, and we'll get these guys to their position to be able to sign some autographs, and you can talk to them informally. And once again, thanks for coming, and as Sylvia, Quin, and Schuyler would recommend, get out there and make something. Thanks.